sa Russia na sagasaan ang kotse.
Nakaligtas naman kaya siya mula sa mga pinsalang kanyang natamo mula sa insidente. Ang lagay po ng babae, aming idedetalye, maya-maya. Magandang gabi, ako po si Ricky Mathay.
Ako si Nina Richie Alago Flores, ito ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga headlines ngayong araw ng Biyernes.
Mga nanalong senatorial balls may ipoproklama na bukas.
COMELEC sinimulan na ang pamamahagi ng honoraria sa mga gurong nagsilbi bilang poll workers.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky nagtalaga ng kanyang kinatawan para sa Istanbul peace talks.
US President Donald Trump inimbitahan ng Pangulo ng United Arab Emirates sa White House.
At Filipino boxing legend Manny Pacquiao kinumpirma ang kanyang pagbabalik sa boxing ring. Bukas na po maipoproklama ng COMELEC ang 12 mga senador na nanalo sa katatapos na midterm election.
Samantala, target naman ng poll body na maiproklama ang mga nanalong party list sa araw ng Lunes. Ayon kay COMELEC Chief George Garcia, sinimulan na nila ang pagpapadala ng formal na imbitasyon sa 12 nanalong senador. Kaugnay nito, 10 hanggang 15 companions lamang kada senador ang kanilang papayagan na makasama. Kagabi, natapos ang canvassing of votes ng National Board of Canvassers kung saan kanilang inilabas ang National Certificate of Canvass. Batay sa pinal at opisyal na bilang ng COMELEC and Bank, kabilang sa 12 nanalong senador ay sina Bongo, Bam Aquino, Bato de la Rosa, Erwin Tulfo, Kiko Pangilinan, Rodante Marcoleta, Ping Lacson, Tito Soto, Pia Cayetano, Camille Villar, Lito Lapid at Amy Marcos. Makikita naman sa inyong screen ang naging final and official count para sa mga party lists.
Nakapagtala po ang COMELEC na mas mataas sa voter turnout o bilang po yan ng mga bumoto sa katatapos sa midterm elections. Ayon kay COMELEC Chairperson George Garcia, nasa 81.65% ang naitalong voter turnout o katumbas po ito ng 55 million voters na nagtungo sa mga polling precinct. Ito na anyang pinakamataas na voter turnout na nai-record sa kasaysayan ng isang midterm elections sa Pilipinas. Dagdag pa ni Garcia, karaniwan na ang mababang bilang ng voter turnout tuwing midterm elections kung saan maaaring pumatak ito sa 70%. Halimbawa, anya rito ay noong 2019 midterm elections.
Sinimulan na ng COMELEC ang pamamahagi ng honoraria para sa mga gurong nagsilbi po bilang poll workers sa natapos na May 12 midterm elections. Tinukoy ni COMELEC Chairperson George Garcia na sisikapin ng poll body na kanilang makumpletong pamamahagi ng honoraria sa mga guro sa loob lamang ng 10 araw. Alinsunod niya sa Election Service Reform Act Law, dapat ay 15 araw pagkatapos ng election day ay naibigay na ang mga honoraria sa mga tumulong na guro. Ang isang guro na nagsilbing Election Registration Board member ay entitled na makatanggap ng 10,000 pisong honoraria habang 12,000 pesos naman sa mga nagsilbing chairpersons.
At muling pinagtibay ng Pilipinas at Cambodia ang kanilang kooperasyon para labanan ang human trafficking. Sinabi ni Palace Press Officer Attorney Claire Castro, nagsagawa ng dalawang bansa ng high-level discussion para magpalitan ng pananaw sa best practices upang mai-address ang mga emerging crimes katulad ng scam hubs. Ang inisyatibong anya ito ay tugon sa panukala ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. na palakasin pa ang region cooperation para maprotektahan ang mga biktima ng human trafficking at kalabanin ang mga sindikato sa border ng bansa.
Bilang tugon sa direktiba ni Pangulong Marcos Jr. na mas paigtingin ang regional cooperation para protektahan ang mga biktima ng human trafficking, labanan ang mga sindikato at siguraduhin ang seguridad sa ating mga border, nagkaroon ng high-level dialogue ang Pilipinas at Cambodia. Pinangunahan ito ng Interagency Council Against Trafficking o IACAT at ng Department of Justice. Katuwang ang Cambodian National Committee for Counter-Trafficking ang Regional Dialogue and Knowledge Exchange target ng dalawang bansa. Target ng dalawang bansa na palakasin ang ating ugnayan sa pagbabahagi ng mga best practices at pagtugon sa mga bagong anyo ng trafficking, gaya ng forced labor sa mga scam hubs.
Muling itinaas ng pag-asa ang flood warning sa 8 rehiyon sa Pilipinas dahil sa mga serye ng pag-ulan. Ayon sa Weather Bureau, ang umiiral na Intertropical Convergence Zone at easterlies ang nagpapaulan sa malaking bahagi ng bansa na maaaring maging sanhi ng biglaang pagbaha. Dahil rito, pinag-iingat ng State Weather Bureau ang mga rehiyon ng Region 1 o Ilocos Region, Cordillera Administrative Region, Region 8 o Eastern Samar, Region 9 o Zamboanga Peninsula, Region 10 o Northern Mindanao, Region 11 o Davao Region, Caraga Region at BARM.
Matapos naman po ang ilang linggong rollback, ay asahan na magkakaroon ng big-time oil price hikes sa oil products sa susunod na linggo. Batay sa 4 na araw ng kalakalan, maaaring tumaas 95 sentimos hanggang 1.40 ang presyo kada litro ng gasolina. 1.50 hanggang 2 piso naman ang maaaring price hike sa diesel, habang 1.30 hanggang 1.40 naman ang dagdag sa presyo kada litro ng kerosene o gas. Ayon pa sa Department of Energy Oil Industry Management Bureau, may kinalaman sa price hike ang kasunduan ng Estados Unidos at China na magkaroon ng 90-day tariff pause.
Susunod, Ukraine magpapadala ng delegasyon para sa Istanbul peace talks kasama ang Russia.
World Health Organization tinanggal ang halos kalahati ng workforce dahil sa USAID budget cuts.
At Rapid Support Forces nagsagawa ng large-scale drone strikes sa Sudan. Detalye po ng mga balitang yan sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International. Manumpa bilang mayor ng Davao City si dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte kahit pa nakakulong siya sa The Hague, Netherlands. Ayon yan mismo kay Senate President Francis Cheese Escudero. Ipinaliwanag niya pa na pwedeng hilingin ni Duterte sa konsulado ng Pilipinas sa The Netherlands na puntahan siya sa detention facility ng International Criminal Court o ICC para makapanumpa sa kanyang bagong tungkulin. Binanggit din ni Escudero na may proseso sa mga ganitong sitwasyon at kabilang ito sa mga karapatan ng dating Pangulo, batay na rin sa rules ng The Hague. Naniniwala rin ng senador na walang epekto ang kaso ni Duterte sa ICC upang tuluyan siyang madiskwalipika sa public office.
Meron tayong tinatawag kaugnayan ng Consular Commission na consular visit. Pwede siyang puntahan kung papayagan niya at hihilingin niya ng ating consular officials para manumpa siya sa harap nila bilang mayor. Subalit, kung hindi siya makakauwi for circumstances or reasons beyond his control dahil nga nakadetain na siya sa The Hague,
samantala, kung hindi makauwi ng Pilipinas ang dating Pangulo, ay hahalili sa kanya bilang mayor ng Davao City ang kanyang anak na si incumbent Davao City Mayor Baste Duterte na siya namang nanalong vice mayor. Alinsunod ito sa probisyon ng Local Government Code.
Pinapaaresto ng korte sa Thailand ang 17 katao na may kaugnayan sa pagguho ng gusali matapos ang naganap na rindol noong Marso. Ang 30 palapag na gusali ay itinayo para sa State Audit Office kung saan ito ay gumuho ng tumama ang magnitude 7.7 na lindol na naramdaman din sa Myanmar. Sa nasabing pagyanig ay nadiskubre sila ng 89 na bangkay mula sa gumuhong gusali habang mayroong 7 iba pa ang nawawala. Ang nasabing warrant of arrest ay nilabas laban sa nagdisenyo, nag-construct at ang supervisor ng tower. Isa sa mga pinapaaresto ay ang negosyanteng si Premchai Karnasuta, dating Pangulo ng Italian Thai Development, isa sa pinakamalalaking construction firm sa Thailand. Sa ngayon ay iniimbestigahan pa ang kumpanya na China Railway No. 10 Limited na sangkot sa naturang insidente. Ang China Railway No. 10 Limited ay isang subsidiary company ng Chinese state-owned China Railway Group na nagnanais na ipatayo ang gusali bilang kanilang first skyscraper project outside of China.
Nagpahayag ng kahandaan ng Ukraine na makaharap ang Russia para tuluyan ng matapos ang mahigit 3 taong labanan.
Незважаючи на достатньо низький рівень представлення російської делегації, але з поваги до президента Трампа, з поваги до високого рівня делегації Туреччини і до президента Ердогана, і все ж таки бажаючи продемонструвати, спробувати досягти хоча б перших кроків щодо деескалації, перших кроків щодо закінчення війни, а саме припинення вогню, я вирішив відправити зараз в Стамбул нашу делегацію, але не всіх, безумовно, голови Служби безпеки, начальника Генштабу не буде, голови так, але делегація буде очолена міністром оборони.
Sinabi ni Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky na gaya ito ng napagkasunduan nila ni Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan na magpapadala ito ng delegasyon. Tiniyak din ng Russia na mayroon silang delegasyon na ipadadala para tuluyan ng maipatupad ang usaping pangkapayapaan. Bilang respetuan niya sa Turkey at US ay marapat na tumugon rin ang Russia.
Я вважаю, що Сполучені Штати Америки зараз і Туреччина відчувають неповагу Росії. На мій погляд, не часу зустрічі, не адженди зустрічі, не високого рівня делегацій – це неповага особиста. Я не говорю, що русські не поважають нас. Це і так зрозуміло. Але у нас це дзеркально. Так, але вони тут. Неповага до Ердогана, неповага до Трампа.
Umaasa naman ang Ukrainian President na mapapatawan ng mabigat na sanctions ang Russia kapag bigo itong dumalo sa usaping pangkapayapaan. Magugunit ang una ng binisita ni Trump ang Qatar, Abu Dhabi at ang huli ay ang UAE para makalikom ng ilang bilyong dolyar na investment.
Зараз ми очікуємо від американської і турецької сторони якихось відповідних сигналів. Я б сказав би конкретики, о котрій годині зустрічаються групи сьогодні, або о котрій годині зустрічаються групи завтра. Наша група, яку я відправляю в Стамбул, завтра буде там. Росія не відчуває, що їй потрібно закінчувати цю війну, а значить не вистачає політичного, економічного і інших тисків на Російську Федерацію. І тому ми просимо, якщо немає припинення вогню, якщо немає серйозних рішень, якщо немає двосторонніх зустрічей, ми просимо відповідні санкції, які будуть стимулом щодо більш швидкого закінчення війни. Ми зараз в Анкарі, зараз прилетіли сюди, після цього відправляємо групу в Стамбул. Тут його немає, в Стамбулі його немає. Ну, ми ж не можемо бігати по всьому світу, шукати людину. І тому ми дуже хочемо, щоб була демонстрація тиску на Росію, на Путіна. Санкції від Європи, США, від інших країн. Як мінімум санкції.
Nanindigan po ang United Nations na hindi nito sasalihan ang humanitarian efforts sa Gaza na suportado ng Estados Unidos. Alamin po natin ang mga detalye ng balita niya mula kay Leslie Gumarang.
Tinanggihan ng UN ang pagsali sa US-backed humanitarian operation sa Gaza dahil ito anya ay hindi impartial, neutral, independent, habang ipinapangako naman ng Israel na pangunahan ng effort ng hindi makikialam sa pagdi-deliver ng tulong.
Will UN staff in Gaza be banned from cooperating with any operations that they conduct?
I would characterize anything as a ban. I've made it clear that that we participate in aid operations if they are in accordance with our basic principles. As we've stated repeatedly, this particular distribution plan does not accord with our basic principles, including those of impartiality, neutrality, independence, and we will not be participating in this.
Magsisimulang patakbuhin ang US-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation sa katapusan ng Mayo. Ito ay sa ilalim ng tinutuligsang distribution plan. Samantala, hiling ng foundation sa Israel na hayaan muna ang UN at mga kaalyado nito na ipagpatuloy ang pagdi-deliver ng aid hanggang maisaayos ang operasyon. Dagdag dito, hinihiling din nito sa Israel na palawakin ang panimulang limitadong bilang ng tinatawag na secure aid distribution sites mula sa katimugang Gaza hanggang sa hilagang bahagi ng teritoryo sa loob ng 30 araw. Subalit ayon kay Israeli Ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon, hindi nito alam ang ganitong kahilingan.
I'm not familiar with those requests. Maybe they went directly to Jerusalem. But I will tell you that, we appreciate the effort of the United States. We work with the United States. And we make the distinction between those who actually want to be involved in the humanitarian efforts and those who want to accuse Israel and put slander against us. And I think the fund, it's a good initiative that will actually allow us to move forward and will weaken Hamas control in Gaza.
Ipinalawanag ni Danon kung paano ang magiging operasyon ng foundation. Nananawagan din ito sa UN na makipag-usap sa foundation kung nais na tumulong sa paghahatid ng aid.
I have been calling to the United Nations to be involved. They speak so much and so highly about the humanitarian issues in Gaza. And here you have a fund led by the United States, ready to go. It will start to operate very soon, and it will be run by the fund itself. Israel will not be involved inside the operation center. We will not be the one giving the aid. We will not be even in those centers. It will be run by the fund itself, led by the US. And I'm happy that a few NGOs joined these efforts. And I'm calling to the Secretary General to recalculate his approach and to think if he really wants to be involved in the humanitarian aid in Gaza, he should sit down with the head of the fund, with the US mission here, and understand what is going to happen. It's a major operation that will start very soon.
Mula noong 2 na Marso, walang tulong ang nakakapasok sa Gaza at nagbababala ang isang global hunger monitor na kalahating milyon tao ang humaharap sa patinding pagkagutom. Sangkapat ng populasyon ng Gaza kung saan naglalaban ng Israel at ang militanteng grupong Hamas mula noong Oktubre 2023. Leslie Gumarang para sa Mata ng Agila International, Trusted, Connected, On Point.
Kinuligsa ng hepe ng United Nations Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief ang isang Israeli-designed and US-backed plan ukol sa pamamahagi ng tulong sa Gaza. Sinabi nitong mapang-uyam, mapanlito, pagtatago ng karahasan at pagpapalayas laban sa Palestinians ang aid plan ng Israel. Anna Cui para sa report.
Noong Martes, binanata ni UNAID Chief Tom Fletcher ang planong aid distribution ng Israel na suportado ng Estados Unidos.
So for anyone still pretending to be in any doubt, the Israeli-designed distribution modality is not the answer. It practically excludes many, including people with disabilities, women, children, the elderly, the wounded. It forces further displacement. It exposes thousands of people to harm. It sets an unacceptable precedent for aid delivery, not just in the OPT, but around the world. It restricts aid to only one part of Gaza, while leaving other dire needs unmet. It makes aid conditional on political and military aims. It makes starvation a bargaining chip. It is a cynical sideshow, a deliberate distraction, a fig leaf for further violence and displacement. If any of that still matters, have no part in it. Mr. President, for the record, we have tried. The UN has met 12 times, and again this morning, with the Israeli authorities to discuss this proposed modality. We wanted to find a way to make it possible.
Mula noong 2 ng Marso, wala ng tulong ang nakapasok sa Gaza. Babala ng isang global hunger monitor na kalahating milyong katao ang humaharap sa pagkagutom, sangkapat ito ng populasyon ng Gaza. Inakusahan ng Israel ang Hamas ng pagnanakaw ng tulong na itinatanggi naman ng militanteng grupo. Sinasabing hinaharang ng Israel ang mga delivery ng tulong hanggat hindi pinalalaya ng Hamas ang natitira pang mga bihag nito. Sinabi ni Fletcher na handa ang ahensyang mag-deliver ng tulong na tiyak na hindi mahuhulog sa kamay ng Hamas. Anya, desperado na silang maghatid ng tulong, lalo na sa mga sibilyang nagugutom.
Mr. President, our response as humanitarians is to make a single ask of the Council. Let us work. The UN and our partners are desperate to resume humanitarian aid at scale across Gaza in line with the fundamental principles of humanity, impartiality, independence, and neutrality. We have a plan. We have shown we can deliver with tens of thousands of trucks reaching civilians during the ceasefire. We have life-saving supplies ready now at the borders. We can save hundreds of thousands of survivors. We have rigorous mechanisms to ensure our aid gets to civilians and not to Hamas. But Israel denies us access, placing the objective of depopulating Gaza before the lives of civilians.
Noong isang linggo, sinabi ng Israel na ang mamamahagi ng aid sa katimungang Gaza ay mga pribadong kumpanya sa sandaling mag-umpisa ang isang pinalawak na opensiba ng Israel. Ani Fletcher, higit sa 100 beses nang nakipagpulong ang UN sa mga awtoridad ng Israel upang talakayin ang mungkahing model ng pamamahagi ng tulong upang tiyakin ang maayos na daloy nito. Sa gitna ng pagtigil na ito, noong isang linggo, ipinahayag ng US ang pagsuporta nito sa mekanismo ng Israel ukol sa pamamahagi ng tulong sa Gaza na pamumunuan ng mga pribadong kumpanya. Ani Deputy U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Dorothy Shea, may nakaabang ng paraan upang makarating ang tulong sa Gaza na hindi hinaharang ng Hamas. Dagdag ni Shea, panahon na upang subukan ang paraang ang sibilyan ang tunay na makikinabang, hindi ang militanteng grupo. Samantala, nagpahayag naman ng mensahe sa Israel si UK Ambassador to the United Nations, Barbara Woodward. Anya, hindi nito susuportahan ang anumang mekanismo na inuuna ang layuning politikal o militar. Ana Cui para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Inanunsyo po ni World Health Organization Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus na babawasan ng halos kalahati ang kanilang executive management team.
I said it many times that the U.S. withdrawal from WHO, it's a lose-lose. It's in the best interest of the U.S. to stay in WHO. It's health security that keeps the U.S. safe and the rest of the world safe by being in WHO. WHO has been working with countries for many years to support them to transition away from aid dependency to sustainable self-reliance based on domestic resources. We are now supporting countries to accelerate that transition, to avert the health impacts that these sudden and unplanned cuts are having.
Ginawa ito sa gitna ng matinding kakulangan sa pondo bunsod ng USAID cuts ng Estados Unidos. Mula 11, 6 na opisyal na lamang ang bubuo sa bagong pamunuan ng headquarters ng WHO sa Geneva simula June 16. Kabilang sa mga aalis ay sina Mike Ryan, Director ng Emergency Response, at Bruce Aylward, Head ng Universal Health Coverage Program at mga pangunahing tauhan sa laban ng WHO kontra COVID-19. Ayon kay Tedros, malaki ang utang na loob ng organisasyon kay Ryan dahil sa kanyang mahalagang kontribusyon noong panahon ng pandemya.
At our last media briefing, I spoke about the impact of recent funding cuts on global health. In response, countries are revising budgets, cutting costs, and strengthening fundraising and partnerships.
Mananatili naman sa bagong team si Jeremy Farrar bilang Assistant Director General sa Health Promotion. Ang kanyang dating posisyon bilang Chief Scientist ay mapupunta kay Dr. Sylvie Bryant ng France. Nagbabala si Tedros noong Abril na haharap ang WHO sa kakulangan sa sweldo na aabot po sa halos $560 up to $650 million para sa mga susunod na taon. Hindi naman binayaran ng Estados Unidos ang kanilang 2024 contributions at hindi inaasahang magbabayad pa ito ngayong taon. Nabatid na ang Estados Unidos ang pinakamalaking donor ng WHO na nagbigay ng halos $1.3 billion para sa 2022 to 2023 budget. Subalit karamihan dito ay voluntaryong kontribusyon para sa partikular na proyekto, bukod pa sa taunang binabayaran ng isang bansa para sa membership dues. Inaasahang pag-uusapan ang isyong ito sa darating na taunang World Health Assembly sa susunod na linggo.
The U.S. administration has been extremely generous over many years. And of course, it's within its rights to decide what it supports and to what extent. But the U.S. also has a responsibility to ensure that if it withdraws direct funding for countries, it's done in an orderly and humane way that allows them to find alternative sources of funding. If the U.S. decides not to restore direct funding to countries, we ask it to engage in dialogue with affected countries so plans can be made to transition from reliance on U.S. funding to more sustainable solutions without disruptions that cost lives.
Lalo pang pinaigting na Israel ang pag-atake nito sa Gaza sa gitna ng pag-uusap sa Qatar para maipagpatuloy ang ceasefire sa pagitan ng magkabilang panig. Nitong nakalipas na 24 oras, may higit 100 katao na sa Gaza ang napaulat na namatay sa inilunsad na airstrikes ng Israel. Tinamaan ng pambobomba ng Israel ang 2 ospital, gayon din ang ilang mga kabahayan sa Jabalia Town at refugee camp. Ayon naman sa Israel, nagsasagawa ito ng strike sa laban sa mga fighter at infrastruktura ng Hamas. Nangyari naman ang marahas na pag-atake ilang sandali matapos umapela si UN Head of Humanitarian Affairs Tom Fletcher sa world leaders na iwasan ang anyay genocide.
Mr. President, our response as humanitarians is to make a single ask of the Council. Let us work. The UN and our partners are desperate to resume humanitarian aid at scale across Gaza in line with the fundamental principles of humanity, impartiality, independence, and neutrality. We have a plan. We have shown we can deliver with tens of thousands of trucks reaching civilians during the ceasefire. We have life-saving supplies ready now at the borders. We can save hundreds of thousands of survivors. We have rigorous mechanisms to ensure our aid gets to civilians and not to Hamas. But Israel denies us access, placing the objective of depopulating Gaza before the lives of civilians.
Inibitahan ni U.S. President Donald Trump na bumisita sa White House, United Arab Emirates President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan.
I look forward to having you in the White House. We'll celebrate together. But we are going to be your friend and we're going to be your partner, and we really appreciate your confidence and an investment. That's your biggest investment that you've ever made, and we really appreciate it, and we're going to treat you very, as you should be, magnificently. And you're a magnificent man, and it's an honor to be with you.
Isinagawa ni Trump ang imbitasyon sa naganap na bilateral meeting ng dalawang opisyal sa UAE. Ang nasabing imbitasyon ay kasunod ng anunsyo ng UAE na sila ay mag-i-invest ng nasa $1.4 trillion sa loob ng 10 taon na nakatuon sa artificial intelligence, semiconductors, manufacturing at energy.
سماحة الرئيس، هناك شراكة قوية بين دولة الإمارات والولايات المتحدة من أجل التنمية، وأخذت هذه الشراكة دفعة نوعية وغير مسبوقة، خاصة من مجيئكم في البيت الأبيض، خاصة في مجالات الاقتصاد الجديد والطاقة والتكنولوجيا المتقدمة والذكاء الاصطناعي والصناعة. ومما يؤكد على ذلك مخطط دولة الإمارات للاستثمار في الولايات المتحدة في هذه المجالات من خلال المؤسسات الاستثمارية الإماراتية وبقيمة 1.4 تريليون دولار في خلال ال10 سنوات القادمة.
Base sa datos ng Emirati Embassy sa Washington ay mayroon ng kasalukuyang $1 trillion na naipasok ng kanilang bansa sa ekonomiya ng Estados Unidos.
And your wonderful brother came to Washington a few weeks ago, and he told us about your generous statement as to the 1.4 trillion. And all I could say is thank you very much. We will work very hard to deserve it. I have absolutely no doubt that the relationship will only get bigger and better. Your relationship and mine can't get better, so I can't say it's going to get better because it's at the highest level it can be. But our countries will work together. We've become a very hot country. We were not such a hot country 6 months ago. And now I think we're the hottest country, if you want to know the truth.
Nagkasundo ang mga miyembro ng NATO na maglalaan ng 5% ng GDP ang bawat isa para sa defense spending. Ang kasunduang ito ay kinumpirma mismo ni U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio sa isang Political Talk news program.
We are headed for a summit in 6 weeks in which virtually every member of NATO will be at or above 2%, but more importantly, many of them will be over 4%, and all will have agreed on a goal of reaching 5% over the next decade. It'll be the first time ever in NATO history where they have reached targets and goals that will allow NATO partners to be more than 50% of the alliance. That's a historic moment if it comes to fruition. That's what was agreed upon today by the foreign ministers.
Sinusuportahan ng Germany ang hiling ng US o ni US President Donald Trump na higit sa doble ang dapat na defense spending target ng mga miyembro ng NATO. Ilang beses ding hinikayat ni Trump ang NATO na alisin nito ang anumang weak link sa kanilang alyansa na dulot ng kakulangan sa military investment. Sa kasalukuyan, nasa 2% ng GDP ang defense spending target ng NATO. Pero maraming leader ng NATO ang nagsasabing mababa ito, lalo na't nakita nila ang kakayahan ng Russia sa digmaan kasunod ng opensiba nito sa Ukraine noong taong 2022.
Sa Panama naman, tear gas ang ginamit ng mga otoridad upang buwagin ang mga nagpoprotesta laban sa pension reform ng bansa. Mula po sa Ciudad de Panama, narito ang report ni Sean Davila.
Noong Miyerkules, gumamit ng tear gas ang anti-riot police ng Panama upang buwagin ng ilang araw ng protesta laban sa pension reform sa bansang ito sa Central America. Kaninang umaga, hinarangan ng mga demonstrador ang International Inter-American Road na naging dahilan ng pagkaantala ng mga truck na babiyahe papuntang Ciudad de Panama. Ayon sa isang residente, ginamitan sila ng tear gas kahit ang ilan ay hindi naman kasama sa protesta.
Las autoridades, los policías, reprendieron con bomba lacrimógena a las casas que viven aledañas a la Interamericana, donde afectaron a niños, adultos, personas que quedaron sin aire por el gas pimienta, tiraron perdigones a las casas, a personas que no tenemos nada que ver. Queremos, Señor, que el gobierno haga algo.
Noong Marso, inaprubahan ng Panamanian Assembly ang isang reforma sa social security system ng bansa na naging dahilan ng pangmalawakang kaguluhan sa bansa. Ang reforma ay pangako ng kampanya ni Pangulong Jose Raul Molino na sinasabing iibsan ang kakulangan sa pondo ng sistema ng pensyon. Ayon sa mga kritiko, pipinsalain nito ang susunod na pensioners. Sean Davila, Ciudad de Panama, para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Nagsagawa ng drone attacks ang paramilitary fighters sa Port Sudan. Dahil sa insidente ay nawala ng supply ng kuryente ang malaking bahagi ng bansa. Ang panibagong pag-atake ng Rapid Support Forces o RSF ay naganap isang linggo matapos na mabawi ng mga sundalo ang Khartoum mula sa rebelding grupo. Nagsimula ang kaguluhan dahil sa agawan ng kapangyarihan sa pagitan ng Sudanese Armed Forces at ng RSF. Sa ngayon ay lampas 2 taon nang umiigting ang civil war sa Sudan at wala pang nakikitang solusyon ng international community ukol sa pagbabalik ng kapayapaan sa lugar.
الشعب السوداني لا تجزعه مثل هذه الحوادث ولا تخيفه مثل هذه النوائب. الشعب السوداني شعب معلم وشعب مقاتل وشعب صنع التاريخ وصنع الحضارات، لن ترهبه مثل هذه الأفعال. هذه المنشآت اللي تخدم المدنيين وتخدم الشعب السوداني بناها الشعب السوداني ما وجد من قبل، بناها وصنعها وسيبنيها وسيصنعها. نحن نؤكد أننا في القوات المسلحة والمقاومة الشعبية القوات المشتركة كل الفئات التي تقاتل مع الجيش السوداني الآن مصطفى خلف واحد ضد ردع هذا العدوان. نقول لكل من اعتدى على الشعب السوداني ستحين ساعة القصاص، ستحين ساعة القصاص، ستحين ساعة القصاص، والله الشعب السوداني سينتصر.
Susunod, 13 katao sugatan matapos araruhin ng kotse sa Espanya.
Ekonomiya ng Japan bumagsak dahil sa epekto ng Trump tariffs.
At Manny Pacquiao, babalik muli sa boxing? Mga detalye po ng mga balita niyan at iba pang mga balita sa pagbabalik pa rin ng Mata ng Agila International.
Financial straits. Mata ng Agila Weekend tuwing Sabado, alas 4 ng hapon. Ito ang NET25. Matatag, matapag, matapak.
Let's get together sa NET25. Sa NET25.
Mainit ang panahon, pero dapat kalmado pa rin tayo at iwasan ang init ng ulo. Ngayong summer, samahan kami sa isang special na episode na inihanda namin para sa inyo. Ating aalamin ang mga eco-friendly tips and must-haves ngayong tag-init. We'll also discuss how to build self-confidence, both on the beach and in everyday life. alamin natin ang mga dapat gawin para kutis ay makinis. Yan ang ating aabangan sa Ito Ang Tahanan ngayong Sabado at Linggo, alas 8 hanggang alas 9 ng umaga sa NET25.
Sa NET25.
At nagbabalik po ang mata ng Agila International sa pagpapatuloy ng ating mga balita ngayong gabi. Patay ang isang babae sa Angarsk, Russia matapos masagasaan ng isang kotse sa gitna ng street race. Po, kita sa pool sa video ang ilang sandali bago magsimula ang karera sa starting line. Makikita na sa pagsisimula ng karera ay nawala ng kontrol ang puting kotse at saka nito inararo ang grupo ng mga manonood. Higit sa babae ay nasakta naman ang dalawang iba pa habang inaresto ng pulisya ang hinihinalang organizer ng illegal race na ito. Ayon po sa Department of the State Traffic Inspectorate, kanila nang hawak ang kaso. Kasalukuyan na rin anilang ini-interrogate ang mga taong sangkot sa nasabing insidente.
Dinala naman sa paggamutan ng 13 mga soccer fans sa Barcelona sa Spain matapos araruhin din ng isang kotse. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, nawala ng kontrol ang driver sa kanyang sasakyan kung kaya't dumiretso ito sa grupo ng mga fans. Naganap ang insidente sa labas ng venue ng soccer match bago magsimula ang laban sa pagitan ng RCD Espanyol at FC Barcelona. Agad na sumugod ang riot police sa lugar para tumulong sa mga biktima. Wala namang nasawi sa pang-aararo at inaresto ng pulisya ang sangkot na driver. Kinasuhan ng mga otoridad ang suspect ng dangerous driving and causing injury.
Sugatan ng 3 trabahador sa Karapurneftega sa oil field sa Russia matapos masunog ang isa sa drilling rigs nito. Kita po sa video ang naturang drilling rig na nabalot ng apoy bago ito bumagsak sa lupa. Sumugod naman sa site ang emergency services para magsagawa ng investigasyon. Kaagad namang naapula ang apoy habang inaalam pa ng mga otoridad ang sanhi ng sunog. Sa Bolivia, nag-alsa ang mga minero ng ginto ng bansa laban sa kasalukuyang kakulangan sa dolyar at langis na nakakaapekto ng husto sa kanilang industriya. Narito po ang report ni Jonah Malyari.
Daan-daang minero ng ginto sa Bolivia ang nagmartsa sa mga kalye ng La Paz noong Huwebes. Hiling ng mga ito ang agarang solusyon mula sa administrasyon ni Pangulong Luis Arce ukol sa dollar at fuel shortage sa bansa. Ang shortage na ito ay nagpapahina ng husto sa industriya ng gold mining sa bansa. Kinatawan ng mga demonstrador ang iba't ibang kooperatiba ng pagmimina. Nagsimulang magmartsa ang mga ito sa El Alto bago tuluyang makarating sa Central La Paz. Dagdag sa kahilingan ng mga minero ay ang opisyal na pagkilala sa Cooperative Gold Mining System at pagsasama dito sa public policy framework ng pamahalaan. Nagpakita ng kanilang suporta ang grupo-grupong mga mangangalakal na nagmarsa rin sa lungsod. Hiling rin ng mga ito ang access sa dolyares at gawa ng solusyon ang pataas na presyo ng mga bilihin.
Para la adquisición de maquinaria, de herramientas, de repuestos, nos exigen en dólares y nosotros, tenemos que estar ahí consiguiendo el dólar, ¿no? Pero lamentablemente no hay. Y pues tenemos que entrar a ese tipo de cambio que tenemos, esa inestabilidad que tenemos, ¿no?
Lamentablemente nuestra economía está de mal en peor, tomando en cuenta de que nuestra economía justamente se sustenta en el dólar y el dólar está desaparecido en Bolivia. Por ejemplo, uno va por las entidades financieras y no encuentra ningún centavo de dólar.
Simula noong 2023, nakipagbuno na ang Bolivia sa dollar shortage. Kasabay nito ang malaking kabawasan sa net international reserves at sa kita mula sa natural gas exports. Jonah Malari para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Sa ilalim ng bagong batas ng United Kingdom, maaari nang magkaroon ng 15% ownership ang mga foreign states sa mga British newspapers at magazines. Ayon kay Culture Secretary Lisa Nandy, ang mga pagbabagong ito ay para protektahan ang media plurality. Layon din ang bagong batas na tulungan ng mga publishers na magkaroon ng pondo para sa kanilang mga negosyo.
At inanunsyo po ng Jaguar na wala itong planong gumawa ng mga sasakyan nito sa Estados Unidos. Ayon sa kumpanya, apektado ang motor industry sa ginawang dagdag taripa ni US President Donald Trump. Itinigil po ng UK-based car maker ang shipments nito sa US nitong Abril dahil sa Trump tariffs. Subalit, nakapagtala naman ito ng annual pre-tax profit na 2.5 billion pounds or that's 15% increased sales of Jaguar. Marami nila ang bumili ng Land Rover at Range Rover model ng Jaguar. Samantala, hindi naman naglabas ng forecast sa Mercedes-Benz at Chrysler owner Stellantis. Ayon sa business experts, tinitimbang ng mga car makers ang naging impact ng dagdag taripa ng Trump administration sa motor industry.
Sa kauna-unahang pagkakataon sa first quarter ng taon at sa bilis na higit sa inaasahan, bumagsak po ang ekonomiya ng Japan. Lalong binibigyan din ito ang marupok na lagay ng pag-ahon nito sa ilalim ng banta ng taripa ng Estados Unidos. Si Michelle Verzonilla para sa karagdagang detalye.
Binibigyan tiin ng data ang kinakaharap na pagsubok ng mga mambabata sa gitna ng mataas na mga taripa ng Estados Unidos na maaari magpabigat sa ekonomiya ng Japan na nakasalalay ng malaki sa pag-e-export lalo na sa sektor ng mga sasakyan. Batay sa preliminary government data, ang nakuhang annualized 0.7% in January to March na real gross domestic product o GDP ay higit ang lamang sa median market forecast para sa 0.2% drop. Sinundan nito ang isang revised 2.4% increase noong nakaraang quarter. Nananatiling pantay ang private consumption ng bansa sa first quarter kumpara sa market forecast para sa 0.1% gain. Ayon pa sa report, nalagasan ng 0.8% point mula sa GDP growth ang external demand o net export ng bansa. Ang pag-e-export ay bumubuo sa kalahati ng economic output ng Japan. Isang global trade war na sinimula ng malawakan taripa ni US President Donald Trump ang bumulabog sa financial markets ng mundo. Kinumplika rin ito ang desisyon ng Bank of Japan kung kailan at hanggang saan ito itataas ang interest rates. Sa kabila ng kaunting kaluwagan sa market at policymakers na idinulot ng de-escalation ng US-China trade tension, may pag-aalinlangan pa rin kung kaya bang ipanalo ng Japan ang pagtatangi mula sa US tariffs sa pagkakaroon nito ng bilateral trade talks sa Washington. Michelle Verzonilla para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected on point.
Dinevelop ng mga engineer sa Massachusetts Institute of Technology ang isang insect-sized hopping robot na may kakayahang mag-navigate sa masisikip na lugar. Ayon sa mga engineers, ang robot ay kasing laki ng hinlalaki ng isang tao at may timbang ito na mas magaan pa kaysa sa isang paperclip. Layo nito na makabuo ng isang robot na ma-utilize sa mga disaster response. Batay sa disenyo ng modelo, kaya nitong magkarga ng mga bagay na may 10 beses ang bigat kumpara sa kayang dalhin ng mga drones.
At sa balitang sports naman po, naku, kinumpirma na ni Filipino boxing icon Manny Pacquiao ang kanyang muling pagsabak sa boxing ring. Ayon sa 46-year-old na dating senador, na pumayag na ito na makaharap si Mario Barrios para sa WBC welterweight title. Nakatakdang isagawa ang paghaharap nila ng 29-year-old American boxer sa buwan ng Hulyo sa Las Vegas. Ang laban ay isang buwan bago ang induction niya sa International Boxing Hall of Fame sa Hunyo. Huli pong lumaban si Pacquiao ay noong August 21, 2021 nang talunin nito si Cuban boxer Yordenis Ugas sa WBA welterweight crown.
Pumanaw na po ang Emmy Award-winning writer na si Steve Pepun. Si Pepun ay kilala sa pagsusulat nito sa ilang sikat na cartoons katulad ng The Wild Thornberrys, The Simpsons at Alf. Ayon sa kanyang may bahay na si Mary Stevenson, sumailalim si Pepun sa pagpapagamot ng kanyang long-standing heart condition na cardiac amyloidosis. Nagsilbi din si Pepun bilang head writer sa ilan lamang TV shows katulad ng Roseanne, Tom at Gary Shandling's show.
Sa iba pa pong mga balita, inaresto naman ng kapulisan sa England ang R&B singer na si Chris Brown dahil sa pambabato nito ng bote. Sa kanyang tinutuloy ang hotel sa Manchester, England, ay inaresto po ang singer. Nangyari ang insidente noong pang February 19, 2024 sa Tape nightclub. Sinabi nitong nagkaroon sila ng alitan ng music producer na si Abe Diao at inakusahan siyang binato ng bote. Dahil sa insidente ay desididong magsampa ng kaso si Diao laban sa singer. Hindi na po bago si Chris Brown sa kontrobersya kung saan sa iilang okasyon na ito nasampahan ng kaso dahil sa pang-abuso naman sa kanyang former longtime partner na si Robin Rihanna Fenty o mas kilala bilang Rihanna.
Sinorpresa ni British pop singer Ed Sheeran ang kanyang mga fans sa Mexico nang siya ay kumanta sa isang restaurant doon. Ilan sa mga kinanta ng Grammy Award-winning songwriter and singer ang Old Phone na mula sa kanyang 2025 album. At ang all-time favorite, syempre, na Thinking Out Loud. Si Sheeran ay dating street performer, kung kaya't mahilig itong mag-impromptu sa mga lugar na hindi inaasahan ng mga tao. Susunod, isang rare item mula sa koleksyon ni Napoleon ibebenta sa isang European auction.
Ubermensch Concert Tour ni G-Dragon mapapanood bukas po sa Philippine Arena.
Abangan ang iba pang mga storya pagdating ni Alma Angeles at ng NET25 World News. Detalye po ng mga balitang yan at ilan pang mga balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
Trask Construction, your trusted partner in hospital building. Trask Construction.
Scorching hot, and we're blasting that away as we celebrate NET25's 25th anniversary. Experience the heat of the season at NET25 Summer Blast 2025. Celebrate 25 years of excellence with electrifying performances and a showcase of local MSME talents.
Open for business with Cesar Vallejos, Sunday, 9 p.m.
Sa NET25.
Maaring umabot sa halagang 1 million euros ang isang saber ni French Emperor Napoleon sa isang auction sa Paris, France. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, ang saber na ito ay kabilang sa koleksyon ni Napoleon na naipreserve ng salinlahi ni Emmanuel de Groucht, ang huling marshal ng French Empire mula taong 1815 pa. Ang saber ay gawa sa gilded silver habang ang sheath nito ay gawa naman sa shark skin. Inaasahan na isusubasta ang saber ni Napoleon sa Hotel Drouot Auction House sa Paris sa May 22. Si Napoleon ay pumanaw noong May 21, 1821 sa edad na 51 kung saan kinilala siya bilang isang magaling na commander habang ang iba naman ay itinuturing siya bilang isang despotic tyrant.
Muli pong magbabalik sa Pilipinas ang K-pop superstar na si G-Dragon para sa kanyang Ubermensch World Tour na gaganapin sa Philippine Arena. Ang rapper, singer, songwriter at big band leader ay magtatanghal sa Philippine Arena sa Bocaue, Bulacan sa May 17 bilang bahagi ng unang phase ng kanyang tour. Bukod po sa Pilipinas, magpe-perform din si G-Dragon sa iba pang major Asian cities katulad ng Tokyo, Osaka, Macau, Taipei, Kuala Lumpur, Jakarta at Hong Kong. Tatakbo ang unang leg ng tour mula May up to August. Ang Ubermensch Tour ay kasunod ng paglabas ng kanyang ikatlong studio album na may parehong pangalan na ilabas naman noong February. Ito ang kanyang unang full-length album na halos 12 years matapos ang kudeta noong 2013. Una po siyang nag-debut bilang solo artist noong 2009 sa pamamagitan ng Heartbreaker na naging isa sa defining moments ng kanyang karera. Noong taong 2023, naglabas si G-Dragon ng dalawang singles, Home Sweet Home, kasama ang mga miyembro ng Big Bang at Power. Kasama naman sa kanyang solo hits ang Without You, Untitled, 2014 at Crooked.
Grabing sikat niya. Naaliw ako dun sa Without You. Kasi may naalala ako dyan, si Kenley. Naalala mo yun? Hindi ko alam kung anong contest yun na. Yung Kenley, budi without you.
Ang alam ko lang sa Without You is With or Without You.
Mas maganda yung version na yan. Pero mas masaya yung budi without you.
Siguro may joke ka ngayon, Nina, kasi Friday na.
Wala akong na-prepare eh.
Wala
Kaya
kang prepared
na nga lang
ngayon.
ako para masaya pa din.
Masaya pa rin naman tayo.
May joke ka ba? May joke ka ba?
Hindi na ako prepared.
Sige, yan na nga. Babalik na naman sa surprise yan.
Kumanta ka na lang ng With or Without You.
Sumayaw ka na lang. Si Direk na lang, oh.
Ayan, abangan po natin, syempre, di ba? Ayan, nasa Philippine Arena po yung gaganapin. And imagine, meron pa siyang tour.
Oo, totoo.
So, malay mo, i-cover natin yung tour niya, di ba?
Ito na naman tayo, dahil Biyernes.
Mula Philippine Arena, tayo ay sasama na sa kanyang tour. At doon pa kami magbabalita sa anumang dako naman.
Ayun, no?
Pero sa ngayon po, kalain mo nila. Biyernes na.
Biyernes. We're always happy on Friday.
Yes, so we wish you a very happy weekend and may you spend it with your loved ones. Ayan. At tandaan na narito kami ni Nina para maghatid ng balita saan mang dako ng mundo. Happy weekend, everyone. Ako po muli si Ricky Matay.
Ako si Nina Richie Alago Flores. Happy weekend po sa inyong lahat. Ito po ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga balitang nangyari rin sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, punta naman tayo kay Alma Angeles para sa NET25 World News. Take it away, Alma.
Thank you, Nina and Ricky. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for NET25 World News on tonight's headlines. In a historic first, the Commission on Elections has announced a record-breaking tally. The National Board of Canvassers completed counting all 175 certificates of canvass in just 3 days, wrapping up late Thursday night. Voter turnout was also significant.
Kasi po, ang bilis po ng botohan, ang bilis po ng transmission.
And the news starts now. First tonight, back in early May, a 47-year-old driver lost control of his SUV and crashed through the main entrance of Ninoy Aquino International Airport, killing 2 people, injuring several others, and damaging airport facilities. The dramatic incident sparked questions about security and road safety at the country's busiest gateway. Now that driver has been released after posting 100,000 pesos in bail. He's been charged with reckless imprudence resulting in double homicide, multiple serious injuries, and property damage. According to the Aviation Security Group, a Pasay court granted his release Thursday night. He also underwent a medical exam at Pasay City General Hospital, clearing him of any visible injuries, and was handed over to his partner as the case moves forward. In a historic first, the COMELEC's National Board of Canvassers finished tallying all 175 certificates of canvass in just 3 days, wrapping up Thursday night. Voter turnout hit 82.2%, with 57.35 million Filipinos casting ballots out of nearly 69.7 million registrants.
Kasi po, ang bilis po ng botohan, ang bilis po ng transmission. Transmission po, pumapasok na ng 8 o'clock eh. Hindi po ba 8 o'clock, nasa mahigit ng 40-something%. Napakabilis po ng lahat. Lahat po nangyari sa gabing yon. Lahat po inaandyan lahat. Kung merong ilang naging issue, naging problema, inabot lang ng umaga. Tsaka yung pang proclamation, katulad sa abroad, dinala. Isipin nyo yung Iran ha, dinala ang transmission sa Kuwait para lang makapag-transmit. So yun po, technology talaga.
Leading the pack is re-electionist Senator Bongo, followed by former Senator Bam Aquino and Senator Bato de la Rosa. Other winners include Erwin Tulfo, Kiko Pangilinan, Rodante Marcoleta, Panfilo Lacson, Tito Soto, Pia Cayetano, Camille Villar, Lito Lapid, and Aimee Marcos. COMELEC Chairman George Erwin Garcia says the official proclamation for the 12 senators will be on Saturday, with party list group winners to be announced either Monday or Tuesday. Notably, the incoming Senate will feature several sibling pairs, including the Cayetanos, the Tulfos, Estrada, and Ejercito, and the Villars. Action stars Robin Padilla and Lito Lapid also secured seats alongside 4 returning senators and 4 re-electionists. The COMELEC is now working on the complex allocation of the 63 party list seats using the Carpio formula as mandated by law. This formula ensures representation for various sectors in the House of Representatives. A developing story from overseas. Despite his own suggestion for direct discussions, Russian President Vladimir Putin did not attend crucial peace talks with Ukraine and Turkey yesterday. The move has been described as disrespectful by Kiev, leaving the prospects for a resolution uncertain. Thomas I. Likeness for more.
When Putin proposed face-to-face talks earlier this week, Zelensky said he would be there. On Thursday, the Ukrainian president waited for his Russian counterpart to arrive. Instead, Putin sent a second-tier delegation. Ukraine's response? Well, it will send a team headed by its defense minister to meet with the Russians today. Zelensky says Putin's failure to show is disrespectful, and he says it's not clear whether talks with the Russian delegation will yield anything productive.
We need to understand what kind of level the Russian delegation is, and what mandate they have, and whether they can make any decisions. Because we all know who makes decisions in Russia.
French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot says the discussions had been Putin's idea, and he says Putin left Zelensky in the position of having no one in authority to talk to.
He's facing an empty chair, the chair of Vladimir Putin, who actually suggested direct discussions between Ukraine and Russia, but who is not present here in Turkey today, despite of the fact that President Trump expressed his willingness, availability to facilitate those discussions.
U.S. President Donald Trump doubts today's talks will yield any results. He says there'll be no movement until he and Putin meet. Trump, who is in the Middle East, says he had been prepared to make himself available.
You know, if something happened, I'd go on Friday if it was appropriate. But we have people right now negotiating, and I think that I just hope that Russia and Ukraine are able to do something.
So, what does it all come down to now? U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says this war will not be settled with guns and tanks. Talk is what will resolve it, he says. And Rubio says the U.S. is open to any ideas that will bring that about.
Whatever mechanism is outlined, whatever the process is that needs to happen, I mean, we are open to being constructive and helpful in any way we can to end the conflict. I will say this, and I'll repeat it, that there is no military solution to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. This war is going to end not through a military solution, but through a diplomatic one.
As both sides stare at the geopolitical chessboard, whose turn is it now? NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte says the next move is up to Russia.
Ukraine is ready to commit to a ceasefire and immediate negotiations. That's absolutely clear. The ball is now clearly in Russia's court. They have to explain what they are doing, why they are here or not, and with what team or whatever. But let's make sure that we all understand that the ball is in their court. Ukraine is wanting to start the negotiations as soon as possible. And as I said before, it is thanks to the Americans and President Trump that the deadlock has been broken. It's now up to the Russians to make sure they take the next steps necessary.
On the streets of Ukraine, people in Kyiv say Russia does not want an end to the war. They say Putin is playing for time, adding they just don't believe he wants peace. Once the talks do begin, though, there are going to be major issues to bridge. Russia currently controls a little under 1/5 of Ukraine, and it says that territory is now formally part of Russia, a position that Ukraine and Western Europe do not accept. Ukraine has repeatedly said that it will never formally recognize Russian control over swaths of its territory. As far as a Russian demand that Ukraine reduce its military, officials in Kyiv say that agreeing to Ukrainian neutrality is a red line they will not cross. For now, no quick end to the fighting is on the horizon. Thomas I. Likeness, NET25 World News.
Meanwhile, here's more update on the Ukraine talks now happening in Turkey.
Meanwhile, the first direct peace talks between Russia and Ukraine in more than 3 years lasted well under 2 hours, with no apparent sign of progress so far in narrowing the gap between the two sides. And that is according to a Ukrainian source, calling Moscow's demands non-starters. Delegations from the warring sides met in Turkey on Friday, their first face-to-face meeting since March 2022, the month after Russia's invasion of its neighbor. The chasm between the two sides was quickly apparent, according to the Ukrainian source who told Reuters that Russia's demands were detached from reality and go far beyond anything that was previously discussed. They included non-starters and non-constructive conditions. There was no immediate word from the Russian side. Expectations for a major breakthrough, already low, were dented further on Thursday when Trump, winding up a Middle East tour, said there would be no movement without a meeting between himself and Russia's President Vladimir Putin.
Well, I think it's time for us to just do it. I said, they all said Putin was going and Zelensky was going, and I said, if I don't go, I guarantee Putin's not going. And he didn't go, and I understand that, but we're going to get it. We're going to get it done. We got to get it done. 5,000 young people are being killed every single week on average, and we're going to get it done.
Our number one priority is a full, unconditional, and honest ceasefire. This must happen immediately to stop the killing and create a solid basis for diplomacy, first of all. And if the Russian representatives in Istanbul today cannot even agree to that, to ceasefire, to this clearly necessary first step, then it will be 100% clear that Putin continues to undermine diplomacy. If that's not the case, there must be at least some result today, starting with the United States. President Trump wants to end this war. We need to keep working closely with President and stay as coordinated as possible. Long-term U.S. support is also essential. An American backstop is needed. It's important that we all work together on every level to make that happen.
U.S. President Donald Trump is making headlines again, this time from the Middle East. In his latest high-profile visit, President Trump made a direct appeal to Qatar, asking for help in brokering a new agreement with Iran to rein in its fast-advancing nuclear program. At a state dinner in Doha, hosted by the Qatari Emir, Trump called the situation with Iran perilous and made this plea.
And I hope you can help me with the Iran situation, because it's a perilous situation, and we want to do the right thing. We want to do something that's going to save maybe millions of lives, because things like that get started and they get out of control. I've seen it over and over again. They go to war and things get out of control, and we're not going to let that happen.
Qatar has long played a behind-the-scenes role between the U.S. and Iran, including during sensitive talks involving Hamas. And with the Israel-Hamas conflict still raging, President Trump is hoping to tap into Qatar's diplomatic reach to ease rising tensions with Tehran.
Because we want to see Iran do well, thrive, and be successful, and everybody be happy. I know many Iranians living in New York and Washington, D.C., and they're great people. And we want to have this end peacefully, not horribly. So I just want to thank Your Highness for that act of help.
In fact, Trump told attendees that Iran has sort of agreed to the terms of a new nuclear deal with the U.S., calling the recent negotiations held just days ago serious talks aimed at long-term peace.
Iran has sort of agreed to the terms. They're not going to make, I call it in a friendly way, nuclear dust. We're not going to be making any nuclear dust in Iran. And we've been strong. I want them to succeed. I want them to end up being a great country. And I think we're getting close to maybe doing a deal without having to do this. There's two steps. There's a very, very nice step, and there's a violent step.
But not everyone welcomed the president's remarks. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian fired back, saying Iran won't be intimidated.
We will not bow down to any bully. This is not just my word, but all women and youth, elites, and those who are zealous will not bow down to any power. Trump thought he could come here and shout slogans, that we would then be afraid and fall short in the face of his promises. We will not trade the honor and pride of this country with anyone. Did we destroy 60,000 women and children in Gaza in a year under the bombs and missiles they had? Did we cut off their access to food, water, and medicine? Are we a danger?
Meanwhile, in another key stop, President Trump earlier met with Syria's newly appointed president during his time in Riyadh. And the White House described it as a short pull-aside, but Trump later gave his own review.
How did you find the Syrian president?
Right. I think very good. Young, attractive guy, tough guy. Yeah. Stroke pass. Very stroke pass fighter.
Does that burn you?
He's got a real shot at.
And as Trump wraps up his Middle East tour, all eyes are now on Tehran to see if Iran is truly ready to make concessions on its nuclear program in exchange for the lifting of U.S. sanctions.
President Donald Trump's Gulf tour rolled into the United Arab Emirates, and it came with a major windfall. The former president welcomed $200 billion in new deals, including a major AI partnership and a fresh Boeing order, just a day after scoring the company's largest ever jet deal in Qatar. Take a look.
Donald Trump's Gulf tour took him to the United Arab Emirates on Thursday, and the visit was marked by the signing of more deals, valued in all at $200 billion. That followed a pledge by the UAE in March to invest some $1.4 trillion in the US over 10 years. Trump hailed that deal in a meeting with country President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan.
And all I could say is thank you very much. We will work very hard to deserve it.
Among the deals announced Thursday was another order for Boeing. UAE airline Etihad said it would buy 28 big jets from the aerospace giant, including 787s and 777s. That followed news of Boeing's biggest ever order for wide-body jets a day before, when Trump visited Qatar. Also finalised in Abu Dhabi was a plan for the largest AI campus outside the US to be built in the UAE. Reuters sources said the deal would give the country expanded access to AI chips from NVIDIA. Company boss Jensen Huang was seen conversing with Trump at the palace on Thursday. A White House fact sheet said other deals included a partnership between US and UAE oil firms to expand oil and gas production. It valued that agreement at $60 billion. However, US lawmakers, including Bernie Sanders, on Thursday sought to block further arms sales to the country. That's over allegations that UAE forces are involved in Sudan's civil war.
Tonight, we have a rare and disturbing look inside a high-security prison in El Salvador. And these are Venezuelan detainees sent there by the U.S. back in March. Now, footage recently released shows them pleading for freedom and signaling for help. Take a look.
This is a rare glimpse of Venezuelan detainees held in a high-security prison in El Salvador since being sent there by the U.S. in March. They're shouting freedom and seen using a hand signal for help. Video of the prison was published by the far-right One America News Network after it recently toured the wing with former U.S. lawmaker Matt Gaetz and Congresswoman Ana Paulina Luna. The Trump administration alleges the men being held here are members of the gang Tren de Aragua. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security did not comment on the video footage, and the White House did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Trump invoked the 1798 Alien Enemies Act on March 15th to rapidly deport alleged Venezuelan gang members. While Trump's proclamation was blocked later that day, 2 planes carrying Venezuelans continued on to El Salvador. Family members, many of whom deny the gang allegations, have been unable to reach the men. Some said they recognized their loved ones in the video. The U.S. has not released a list of the names of the deportees.
2 climbers, one from India and another from the Philippines, have become the first fatalities of this year's Mount Everest climbing season. Filipino mountaineer Philip P.J. Santiago II, 45 years old, died at Camp 4 while preparing for his final ascent. A day later, Indian climber Subrata Ghosh, also 45, died just below the Hillary Step while descending from the summit. Both were part of expeditions by Nepal's Snowy Horizon Treks. Recovery efforts are ongoing but difficult due to the extreme altitude. Over 300 people have died on Everest since expeditions began. 2 people have died in a wildfire that is sweeping through the central Canadian province of Manitoba. Now, several other provinces in Canada are also battling wildfires that are threatening communities. Jay Suarez has more.
Authorities found the 2 victims in the small Manitoba community of Lac du Bonnet, about 100 kilometers north of Winnipeg. They had apparently been trapped in their home by the fire, unable to escape the flames. The inferno prevented emergency workers from reaching them. The flames have forced about 1,000 people to flee their homes. 24 wildfires are burning in Manitoba, 5 of them out of control. Across the country, firefighters are battling 92 blazes in 5 provinces: British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Ontario. Dry conditions along with high winds are hampering efforts to contain the fires. In Saskatchewan, villages in the province's north have been put on evacuation alert. And in northern Ontario, there are both evacuation and travel alerts in some areas. British Columbia has 28 wildfires, 9 of them out of control. As the country prepares for a long holiday weekend, fire bans have been issued and camping has been banned in some regions. Some provincial parks have been closed. This year is already shaping up to be a bad one for wildfires in Canada, and the lack of rainfall is only making conditions worse. Jay Suarez for NET25 World News.
For years, Argentina's Perito Moreno Glacier stood as an exception, maintaining its size despite a warming world. However, new observations suggest that even this seemingly stable giant is now feeling the effects of climate change. We'll take you to Patagonia, where scientists are alarmed by the growing scale of ice calving from this iconic landmark. Take a look.
A deep rumble, and then a crash. For years, visitors have watched in awe as blocks of ice, some the size of a 20-story building, collapse from Argentina's Perito Moreno Glacier. But recently, the size of the ice chunks breaking off, a process called calving, has alarmed local guides and glaciologists. The face of the Perito Moreno Glacier had for decades held more or less steady, bucking the trend in recent decades by maintaining its mass, even as warmer climates spurred faster glacial melting worldwide. But Pablo Quinteros, an official tourist guide at Los Glaciares National Park, says there's been a recent shift. He says it was once rare to see icebergs of this size breaking off. But in the last 4 to 6 years, it's become a common sight. Glaciologist Lucas Ruiz says the face of the Perito Moreno Glacier, which flows down Andean peaks into Lake Argentina, had unusually been more or less in the same position for 80 years.
The thing with Perito Moreno is that it took a while, so to speak, to feel the effects of climate change. However, the changes we are seeing today clearly show that this balance of forces, or this balance of mass between the upper part that accumulates snow and the lower part that melts ice and calves icebergs, has been disrupted. And today the glacier is losing both in thickness and area.
He said that the glacier could rebound as it has done before, but that for the moment, it was losing between 3 and 6.5 feet of water equivalent per year. If not reversed, Ruiz says it could lead to a situation where the loss accelerates. For now, the glacier remains a spectacle for travelers like Giovanna Machado, who came from Brazil to see it up close.
It's insane. The most incredible thing I've ever seen in my life. Even in photos, you can't grasp its immensity, but it's perfect. It's amazing. I think everyone should come here at least once in their life.
And the news continues here on NET25. We'll be right back. A worrying sign for the world's third largest economy, Japan's GDP shrank in the first quarter of this year. And analysts say this slowdown occurred even before U.S. President Trump's trade policies fully take effect. Now, the latest figures underscore the precarious position Japan finds itself in as potential tariffs loom large.
Japan's economy shrank more than expected over the March quarter. GDP contracted by 0.7%, or more than 3 times the drop analysts had forecast. The downturn was driven by stagnant private consumption and exports, and the numbers suggest the economy was losing steam even before Donald Trump's tariffs kicked in. The US president has imposed 10% duties on most countries, with Japan to face 24% levies from July unless it can strike a deal before then. Trump himself has suggested that could be possible.
From Japan, I'm getting along very well with Japan. We're very close to a deal.
But Trump has also put 25% tariffs on US car imports, a critical sector for Japan. And prospects for an agreement with Washington remain very uncertain. With exports and consumption weak, economists say it's not clear what can drive growth. That could put Tokyo under pressure to step in. Some lawmakers have already urged Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba to cut taxes or provide more stimulus. However, the government says there are no such plans for now. The trade war also leaves the Bank of Japan with a difficult decision. It had been expected to do more interest rate increases, but that could change if a Trump-induced slowdown gathers momentum.
And we have a significant development out of Thailand. Remember that devastating building collapse in Bangkok back in March, triggered by that powerful earthquake in neighboring Myanmar? Well, today, a major construction tycoon and 14 others have surrendered to police. Premchai Karnasuda, the president of Italian Thai Development, and 14 other executives surrendered to police over the collapse of the 30-story State Audit Office tower last March. That building fell during a 7.7 magnitude earthquake centered in Myanmar, killing 92 workers. 4 remain missing. Metropolitan Police Bureau Deputy Commissioner Nopasin Punsawat told reporters that expert reviews found the tower's architectural design flouted ministerial regulations. Its concrete and steel were substandard, and engineering documents carried forged signatures. All 15 suspects deny negligence and breaching construction rules, and 2 more individuals are due to report on Monday. Interestingly, this isn't the first time Prem Chai has been in the headlines. He was convicted and jailed in 2021 for poaching protected wildlife, including a black Indo-Chinese leopard in a national sanctuary. Italian Thai Development says it's fully cooperating as the case moves to pre-trial hearings. In a world where feelings of isolation can often take hold, a recent event in Europe offered a powerful antidote. Members of the Iglesia ni Cristo, the Church of Christ, convened for their Unity Games, a vibrant display of how shared activities can strengthen bonds and promote well-being. Take a look.
From across the continent, members of the Iglesia ni Cristo Church of Christ gathered for an unforgettable Unity Games. An inspiring event where INC members from different parts of Europe came together not only to compete but to connect.
Well, the amazing atmosphere in every single sports game. It can be basketball, volleyball, badminton, darts, like all the activities planned in this amazing. I had a great time.
Ahora mismo me siento muy cansada porque acabamos de jugar, pero me siento muy feliz porque hemos ganado. Pero aparte de haber ganado, me alegro de haber podido jugar con otros distritos y me siento muy afortunada de formar parte de esta gran actividad y de poder representar nuestro distrito. Doy las gracias a la administración por haber lanzado la actividad de Unity Games Europe Edition.
Whether on the basketball court, the volleyball arena, or at the chess and dart stations, the spirit of camaraderie was undeniable. Each game was more than just a match. It was a celebration of unity and brotherhood.
Also es ist auf jeden Fall sehr spaßig hier zu sehen, wie alle Districts von ganz Europa hier versammelt sind und wie hier alle vereint sind, um verschiedene Sportarten zu spielen und auch zu unterstützen, anzufeuern, und es motiviert auch einen, wieder mal andere zu sehen, wie die spielen und einfach Spaß dabei zu haben.
Well, the last couple of months I've been practicing at home a lot. Been getting my darts ready, and small preparation here before the game, but it's maybe a little short.
In a world where isolation has become far too common, events like these remind us of the deep value of human connection. Physically, it gets us moving. Mentally, it sharpens focus and relieves stress. It builds networks and strengthens the bonds that hold us together. This wasn't just a day of fun and games. It was a moment where borders were crossed, friendships were formed, and hearts were united in love and purpose. Together, we showed that no matter where we come from, the human connection and friendship bonds are still very much the social values needed for better well-being. Today's sporting event is a powerful reminder that when we come together as one, the joy we share is multiplied, connecting us emotionally and empowering the mind and body. Reporting from Barcelona, Spain, this is Jericho Sison for NET25 World News.
And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on NET25, I'm Alma Angeles. Have a great weekend. Good night.